everyone. It is Sunday sit-down time. We got the man Calum in the house for Sunday sit-down. Thanks for making some time, especially on a bye-week Sunday, for coming in and talk some Mizzou.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to be here.
Yeah, you know, obviously, it kind of mixed emotions, I feel like, going into a bye week. You're going in undefeated, which is a good thing, the best record you can have at this point. But it kind of felt like a, I don't know how to feel win after that game against Vanderbilt on Saturday.
Yeah, there's definitely some, you can't be disappointed with the start. You can't be disappointed about going into your first idle week of the season 4-0. It's where the team was expected to be, it's where they wanted to be, and it still keeps them on track for those end-of-season goals, making the college football playoff. They're still even in the conversation for an SEC championship berth if everything goes right from this point. But the style points are a little bit lacking there. There's been some conservative play calling. There are lapses in the offense. They haven't quite managed to get out of that methodical play style that has worked for them so far, but could, you know, cause some hitches down the line. The coverage busts are really a problem on the defense. That's really what has been a strength of this team. It is holding them back, and it has made 2 straight games now incredibly cagey, nervy affairs. So there are problems. They are 4-0, but there are problems that as these games start to get more and more difficult in October and November, that you would like to see them fix a little bit down the line.
Well, you want to see them obviously perform in the red zone. That's the place that it matters most. And, you know, before we sat down here, we were talking about that's one of the biggest problem areas. It seems like the offense kind of gets a little timid when you get in the red area. What's been your biggest takeaway from that part of the field? Exactly
what you just said. You know, you look at, as I mentioned, they're very methodical, they're very efficient, and it's working for them on about 70% of the field. They really are managing to sustain drives until they get to that scoring position. And we're, you know, not just the red zone, but when we get into that 35, 30 yard to goal sort of distance there, they really are becoming a little bit conservative. I ran a story this week that looked at, all right, what are they doing all over the field? They're about a 6 yards per play team. That's fine. That ranks in the top 50 in the country. That'll win them a lot of football games. But as soon as they step across that 30-yard line, the average play is only going 2 yards. There's a lot of screens, there's a lot of flats, there's a lot of QB draws. There's not really much adventure in this offense. You know, those fades that we saw to Theo Wees last season, those balls over the top to Marquise Johnson, they're not quite there anymore. And I think that is why they haven't seen that much success, why they're not converting these sustained, methodical drives into the maximum amount of points, and that will cost them eventually. They have to go to College Station next week, and that's going to be a big part of they're going to have to take advantage of every opportunity to get down there.
Well, you know, I'm curious about your analysis of the play of Brady Cook so far. Obviously, you know, has been overall efficient, but kind of doesn't seem to look quite the same as last year, maybe with those explosive plays at least.
Absolutely. It's interesting. I don't think Brady Cook's been bad by any means, but I don't think he's been his 2023 self. I mean, you look at the one stat that stood out to me against Vanderbilt that was really jarring was the fact that the Commodores really took away his legs. You know, he ran the ball 11 times for 7 yards, and when you take away that side of Brady Cook, you take away 50% of what makes him so explosive, what makes him so difficult to contain, and that's, you know, the deep ball, it's a nice option to have. You know, when you've got these guys on the team, it would be great to be able to take the top off a defense, but it's not necessary to success. You know, Missouri has shown that they can pick apart teams by that sort of dinking dunk, short passing offense. I would like to see a little bit more on that front. I don't think he's been poor by any means. He is the best quarterback on the roster. There's no question there. But I think even by his own standards, he saw after the Vanderbilt game, he did not look relieved. He did not look pleased. You know, he came in and was pretty solemn after scraping out a double overtime win. So I think there's some recognition that he's not quite at the standard of play he was last year. They might be holding some of the offense back. I don't think they would be when they're in one-score games like that, but they could be. But I think there is at least another rung on that ladder for Brady Cook to climb this season.
Well, you kind of felt that, I feel like, from the whole team after the game, kind of wanting to get better, wanting to use this bye week to get better before Texas A&M. You know, for you, what do you feel like is the one area maybe they need to highlight in this bye week to get better?
That's an interesting question. I would like to see more creativity in the offense. I would like to see a little bit more adventure there. I'd like to see them get a little bit riskier with their play calling. You know, and that can put you in peril, that can put you in danger, but I really do believe in the playmakers this team has. I really do believe in their individual ability to go up and make explosive plays when you put them in those 50-50 scenarios. I would like to see a little bit more of that. And I would like to see a little bit more discipline from the defense on the other side of the ball. I would like to see them, you know, those eyes fleeting into the backfield is going to cause them problems. There are a lot of good quarterbacks on the final 2/3 of this schedule. That's going to cause them problems if they don't figure that out. And I get, when you face so many quarterbacks that are so mobile, the objective is to contain them. The objective is to make sure they're not rounding the edge and taking their legs and hurting you that way. But I would like to see a little bit more creativity on offense, a little bit more discipline on defense. I think this Missouri team will stand a really good chance in A&M.
Well, you mentioned Texas A&M. I've been talking to people who played at Calum Field before. They said it's a heck of a tough place to play. Obviously, what a game for the first road trip of the season. What this A&M team, a bit up and down, it kind of feels like. What's your biggest takeaway of what Mizzou might see?
A little bit. It was one of those that they really intrigued me at the start of the season, because I think the Mike Elko hire was exactly what this team needed. They're going to play some hard-nosed football. But from the first 4 games, the takeaway that I have is that this is not going to be Elko's best football team while he's down in College Station. I think they are. I think they have a lot of really intriguing defensive weapons that can hurt Missouri. I think they have a pretty good quarterback in Connor Weigman if he's healthy. This is still a decent football team. I don't think they're quite as good as I maybe imagined they would be at the start of the year. Like you say, though, it's going to be I've never been down at College Station. I can't wait to hear what that's like down at Kyle Field. I've heard that stadium literally shakes. So yeah, looking forward to that one. It's going to be a really intriguing test for Missouri.
Well, obviously it's just the first road trip, but how big, if you could put this on the scale of things right now, how big is this game for them right now?
I think this is, I was thinking about this, nothing but time on the bye week. I was thinking about this week. I think this is one of the more important games in recent Missouri history. When you really look at the implications this could have down the line. If they go to College Station and win, there is really no reason this isn't a 10-11 win team. There's really, putting them in this type of test, this type of environment, if they go there and win, you would favor them in probably every game but Alabama moving forward if they manage to go down here and win. This game really has serious college football implications. I think that a Missouri win does absolutely put them in that 12-team picture. I think they're maybe kind of on the bubble right now. I think they're probably teetering on the edge of in or out. So, it's a real chance to prove themselves, which I think they, despite being good, haven't quite done yet this season. So, yeah, I really am excited to see this game. I think it is going to be one of the more important games in Missouri's season, but also in the past maybe decade as well.
Well, marquee matchup at Kyle Field, going to get to be on a big stage, so looking forward to it. I appreciate you making some time ahead of that one.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. For the rest of you guys, we'll be right back after the break.